This week's performance anxiety goes into little uncharted territories for us. We enter the world of new age and ambient music. But don't worry, it's not all just hanging out in your mom's 79 Saab listening to Andres Vollenweider. Dallas Acid's Christian Havens and Michael Gerner show us that it's also about traveling culinary experiences, projection cube concerts, and redoing the soundtrack to Nosferatu. It's also about doing heavy metal covers in the ambient new age style. So join us, because this was a very, very fun conversation with two really great guys who specialize in a genre of music I really didn't know anything about until I spoke with them. So please enjoy Christian Havens and Michael Gerner from Dallas Acid on this week's Performance Anxiety.
I'm Christian Havens from Dallas Acid, trying to get over my performance anxiety on performance anxiety. Is that okay?
That's perfect. Michael, you want to?
Does everybody say that?
This is Michael from Dallas Acid, and you're listening to Performance Anxiety.
Awesome. And no, nobody ever says that.
I'm going to be right back. I'm going to grab the charger for the thing real quick. Where are you at?
I am in Virginia.
Oh, nice.
I'm in Winchester, so I'm right on the West Virginia border, almost directly 90 miles west of D.C.
Okay.
So, and you guys are in Texas, right?
Texas, yeah, Austin.
We played Richmond not too long ago.
Oh, really?
It was really good.
Oh, that's cool. That's a little bit of a haul for me, but it's not terrible. So, it's like 3 hours.
So DC's closer.
Yeah, definitely.
We played a really good show there too.
Oh yeah,
at the Black Cat.
Oh, Black Cat's really cool. Yeah, I've only been there a couple times. I don't even remember who I saw, but it was an interesting little place. It's 930 Club's always a great place.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I hadn't been to the new Black Cat since now. Well, I played at the old one a long, long time ago.
Yeah. They actually, Black Cat and 930 Club both changed locations over the past few years, but
yeah.
All right, it's getting a little brighter in here and plugged in. So
yeah,
perfect. Yeah, let's do it.
I appreciate you guys coming on tonight. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to be here.
Oh, and it's funny because I had spoken with, not really spoken, I guess emailed with Howard Wolf, and he's like, hey, I want you to talk to this band, Dallas Acid. All right, cool. What kind of music is it? And he's like, oh, it's kind of like a new age ambient. I'm like, wow, I don't know anything about that. I'm like, all right, I want to talk to him. Just let me get into it a little bit. Let me see what it's like, because I don't know anything about that. That's so. It's such a new realm for me. So I said, give me a little time so I can. And he sent me the music. I'm like, all right, let me digest it first a little bit so I can get used to it. So not all my questions are idiotic. So we'll see where it goes from here.
Yeah, let's wing it and see what happens.
All right, so you two play synths in the band, right? And Linda Beecroft is the percussionist.
Percussionist and vocalist. Yeah.
Okay. And I got to tell you, with the last name Beecroft, the only thing I could think she would ever be would be like a superhero librarian or in an ambient new age band. There's like the only two options she could have.
Absolutely.
That's a perfect name for what she does. But how did you guys all meet up?
Well, Michael and I are old friends from Austin, just growing up in the music scene here in the early to mid 90s. And, Michael had some bands. I don't even remember really how we met, just being at the same shows, and seeing each other. And at one point, I told him, I'm putting together a band. I heard you were putting together a band. And that band turned into about 40 other bands before we became Dallas Acid. And basically, we were living in New York in, I guess it was 2013, 2014. And basically Linda's band, Golden Animals, had a practice space down the hall from where we were staying and kind of living at the time.
Okay.
So basically, we kind of met there, and we started playing, just to pass the time at the practice space. And then I ended up moving back to Austin, and Michael and Linda decided to come out a few months later, and so we just kind of picked it up and probably scheduled a show a little, maybe too early in the game, and just kind of got on stage and went for it. Not really prepared, to fill up, 30 minutes or whatever it was. We had basically, I think, 2 songs at that point. So we tried to stretch them out as long as we could. And, we figured we need a lot more practice. So we kind of went back to the drawing board and, started writing some songs. And I guess the last couple of albums are more in traditional songwriting, style.
How did you guys get into New Age and Ambient? And you've got to forgive me. Like I said, I don't know a whole lot about this genre. I know some people might not like those genres. I mean, are you guys? What is the difference between the two? Is there a difference?
I mean, the difference is pretty minimal or significant, depending, I guess, on what camp you're in. I mean, ambient music traditionally refers to music that is almost like background music. It's so sort of subtle in the environment and the atmosphere that you're in. And New Age is more about, healing the soul and sort of, expressing the joys of existence, as well as sort of trying to heal the sorrows, I guess. It's sort of physical, I guess, spiritual genre of music,
okay. So it sounds like you put you guys in the New Age category.
Well, for this last record, we worked with Laraji and RG Oceanata, pardon me, and they are New Age musicians, ambient New Age. Laraji has been at it since the 70s at least, maybe even before that.
Yeah.
And so he's kind of one of the innovators of both genres. And I guess our music falls sort of somewhere in between that and, sort of pop music to some degree, or very weird pop music, maybe. Michael and I, we grew up listening to a lot of punk music and, heavier, stuff.
Okay.
I grew up outside of San Antonio, so it was like pretty much all like Black Sabbath and Iron Maiden for me as a youngster. But, and both of us, we didn't know each other at the time, but we both were introduced to the works of like Brian Eno, at a fairly young age, when we were still in high school. And he had done a record with Laraji in 1980 called Day of Radiance that was really fantastic. And we were on tour with Dead Meadow on the East Coast.
Oh, I love Dead Meadow.
Yeah, they're so wonderful. Yeah. They're such talented musicians and great people as well. So we our tour ended in New York, and then so we had a show scheduled with Laraji. We both really, we already knew his music, but he really kind of dug what we did, and we went into the studio the next day and recorded for 8 hours or so, and this record arrived without leaving is kind of the product of that of those works.
How hard is it to edit 8 hours of an ambient jam into what, like 6 or 7 songs?
Yeah, basically, yeah, you're kind of reducing multiple hours of stuff down to like 40 minutes or so, basically, 2 sides of an LP. So, yeah, I mean, there was a lot of listening for, by the end of the session, we were so exhausted and, it was the end of tour. So we didn't really listen to it till, we got back about a week later, or 2 weeks later. And, we just listened to all of the recordings, as much as we could over the next like 3 or 4 weeks. And Laraji and RG also, did the same thing. And we all just kind of communicated by email and phone and all came up with sort of our best moments and, talked about how those could be kind of, laid out in some kind of cohesive structure that made, somewhat of a sense, but really kind of represented some of the different, dynamics that we were getting that day. So
you'd mentioned you guys listening to punk, metal, sludgy stuff like Black Sabbath back when you guys were younger. What was, but then being introduced to Eno, what was that moment where you just decided, I'm not going to do punk. I'm not going to do Black Sabbath riffs. I want to do ambient stuff.
I think, we had just played in so many guitar bands, like, for a decade or so before we decided to pick up the synthesizers. And, we had been getting, we loved like, all the old krautrock stuff, and Kraftwerk and Klaus Schulze and Tangerine Dream and Cluster. And they were big influences on us. And, at one point, I know I started kind of messing with synthesizers more. I was doing a construction job for a while, and I broke my fingering hand, for guitar, and so I couldn't play. And so I just I started writing stuff on this cheap little Casio keyboard and recording and stuff. Michael was coming over and hanging out and putting in stuff, and then we decided, hey, let's get some real gear and get a recording project going. And that was basically sort of where Dallas Acid started.
And where did that name come from?
Well, it's it doesn't really mean anything in particular. It's just kind of an old inside joke between me and Michael going back, to some crazy times when we were in Dallas hanging out.
All right. Well, that's what this show is about, getting those great stories.
Yeah.
So I'm going to bring this back up again because I think this could be a great idea. And you guys tell me if I'm full of shit or something. You guys grew up listening to punk and Black Sabbath and all that. Has anybody ever done an ambient new age album of metal tracks?
Well, it's funny you should say that. We've been working on kind of a secret project of, maybe some reworkings of some of our favorite metal classics. We'll just, but I don't want to say any more. We're going to have some a few guest musicians making appearances and stuff. But
nice.
It's something that is very hard to sort of transcribe Maiden and Sabbath riffs into a modular sequencer and that kind of thing. So you come out with a very different product than you think that what you're going in for. But so far so good. I'll just say that.
Oh man, I'm all right. So now you've sold me on New Age. I'm in all the way. You guys have. You seem to be like, from what I was reading, I've been reading some articles about you, trying to do some prep in the little bit of time, because I unfortunately still have a day job. So I've got to do my prep at home with the kids running around and, when my boss isn't looking and all that kind of crap. But you guys have done some really weird shows and some strange spaces.
Yeah.
Can you guys tell me a little bit about some of these? Like, Monkey Town and the Nosferatu soundtrack, and how do you get involved in this stuff?
Well,
you guys were looking at each other like, no, you tell him. No, you tell him.
Yeah. How do we explain this? We, our first couple of shows were in kind of rowdy Austin 6th Street bars, very much like metal bands, surf rock bands, all, psych bands, and then, we're kind of doing this weird ambient thing, and it's so weird. I mean, not that, we got heckled too much in the early days, but, time to time. But, it's really hard to play this kind of music for people who are out, on the weekend to have a beer and that kind of thing. Or at least what we were doing at that time was, I think we've kind of figured out we have a few songs that are probably more appropriate for that environment, we'll say. So we were just looking for other interesting, cool things, environments to kind of do this. And we always wanted to kind of create a whole, visual element, lighting and creating just an atmosphere that went with the music that was maybe a little more relaxed, places where people could sit down and just kind of stare off. And one of those was at a Monkey Town. Monkey Town was this experimental video cube that, you had 4 screens you were surrounded by that were projecting films and things. And basically the audience sat around a table that made up the inner perimeter of this cube. And we were sort of in the middle of all these people while they were being served a 5-course gourmet meal from a local chef. We did one in Austin and then one in L.A. And then we basically have sort of a 20-minute or so performance in the middle of this big elaborate meal. And they're basically showing various, kind of art films and short experimental films by, art films. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And we showed our film as well.
Yeah, we made
we made a film for it, and that we kind of, played the soundtrack to. Basically, was the last one. It was called Beamers and Bloody Marys, and
Nice.
Yeah, kind of had a spy theme with a bit of luxury spy theme.
So when you're doing this, did you guys get fed too?
Oh yeah. Oh. We got to try, sample a few gourmet meals ourselves, and wines as well, which was very nice.
Before
we did twice a night.
Yeah, basically we did
2 weeks, so it was nice.
Yeah,
to really just be able to keep everything set up, and just really by the end really hone in on the performance itself. You guys
also collaborated with Paz Lenchiton from the Pixies and Perfect Circle to do a musical soundtrack to the original Nosferatu.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. How did that come about, and how did you come up with the music for that?
Well,
Paz got invited.
Yeah, Paz was initially invited, I guess, by the Blue Starlight Drive-In Theater here in Austin. And basically, she's a friend and said, hey, do you guys want to do this with me? And we were like, yeah. We started, fresh. We tried not to listen to any. I think there's a couple of different soundtracks out there, that are traditionally, put with the DVDs or releases today. But So we tried to just not listen to that and just take it as, as though it was just a completely new experience. And basically we spent about 4 or 5 weeks kind of writing material and just watching the film over and over again.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, maybe it was 3 months. I don't know.
It took a long time.
I remember. I think it was still summer when we started, and then we finally performed it on Halloween.
Oh, wow!
At the drive-in theater, with set up in front of the screen and everything, and everybody was in their cars with the radio broadcast. It was really cool. It was a totally unique thing.
Was that recorded and released, or is that just a live performance that you guys did?
It was a live performance, but we started recording it at that moment that we were coming up with it just to help ourselves remember it.
That's smart.
Here. But yeah, we've basically been completing that this year, and hopefully it'll be out next year. We may wait till Halloween to finally just have a release. And since it's a public domain film, we'll probably release the whole video thing.
That would be so cool, because I was looking up some of the music and the videos on YouTube, and I found like a 3-minute clip of that. And it's,
that's just the main theme, I guess, that we came up with. And that was our little teaser to get people out the show. So
that was really cool. I really liked it. I would love to hear the entire thing.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, we can't wait for it to come out. I think it'll be a really cool thing that a lot of people should really like, hopefully, anyway.
So you got, okay, so that's 2 strange spaces and shows that have worked out really well. I know you guys have had some that haven't. Give me one that hasn't worked out so well.
Oh,
the Palms.
Yeah, we did a show at the Palms in 29 Palms out in near Joshua Tree out in the desert,
right.
A few years back, and I think
this was a while.
This was very early on, and our music, which was a lot less structured, a lot more free floating and flowing and floating too. And I think it vibed 100% chemically with everybody that was out there at the desert that night. Classic heckling case. It was awesome. But we persevered, and by the end of it, I think that we had sort of tamed the beast somewhat, I guess.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
Nobody beat us up or smashed our equipment, so I guess it was a success.
So how do you find the crowds between the punk shows and the rock shows that you guys used to attend and with the bands you were in compared to the ambient new age shows that you guys do now? How is there a big? I can only imagine there's a huge difference, but I'm not on stage, so.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely different. I think there's a weird sort of crossover where a lot of people that were into metal and punk music when they were younger kind of they kind of dig what we do. I think it's not totally pure and all the time, and so I think there's a little bit of an edge to it. But
it does seem like there's a big crossover, and then also everyone from that scene, as they've gotten older, their spectrum of musical tastes have kind of expanded too at this point.
That makes sense.
And a lot of younger kids who are really into this genre of music that wasn't really around when I think we were like one of 10 weirdos in Austin who were into this, say in like early 90s.
Okay.
Yeah.
Of our age bracket at least. So I feel like I'm always surprised with the audience's reactions, kind of, because a lot of times you're like, oh, I don't know if this is going to work out.
Any ambient mosh pits or anything?
No, not yet.
No.
However, we do encourage ambient mosh pits as long as they're in really slow motion.
So you're seeing a good crossover of younger people attending your shows, then?
Yeah. We get a lot of younger people. I think in Austin, there's a lot of young people in a college town and all, but the younger generation is definitely into electronic music and ambient music and kind of rediscovering new age music, from a different perspective, I think, than our generation. When we were young, new age music was kind of what, old hippies listened to, and
Yanni and
yeah, exactly.
I remember my mom got a Saab, and she was driving around in her nice little Saab, listening to Andres Vollenweider, and I'm like, and that's and it's funny because that when Howard got up with me to see if I wanted to talk to you, that's the first thing that popped into my head.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. I gotta check these guys out. I gotta research this before I agree to it. And then he sent me the music, and like, no, this isn't that. This is really interesting. And I found something dangerous about your music.
Yeah.
I would listen to it while I'm at my day job, and I guess what most people would imagine is that you sit there and it's so relaxing and quiet that you relax and you fall asleep maybe. But that's not what would happen. I found myself just thinking about other stuff. Like I would be doing my job and one of the tracks from the new album would come on, and I just start thinking of a movie instead. It became a soundtrack to a movie that I'm just making in my own head at the time. And so I found myself like drifting off, thinking about, having this music in my head, and I'm thinking about, this makes me think of like that I'm in a market somewhere, and I'm doing, and then like 15 minutes have passed, and all of a sudden like my coworkers are staring at me, and I'm like, what? And like, you haven't moved in like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. Back, track 2.
That's great.
But
yeah, and that's hopefully, if we're doing what we do the right way, it should sort of inspire, I think, that kind of imagination and sort of journey and very, inspire a lot of visual things inside your head, hopefully.
It certainly has for me. And then, so it's definitely on a rotation at work for me. So fortunately I get to keep my headphones on at work, so I can listen to whatever. I just got to make sure that I stay focused. Otherwise I'm going to be looking for a new job here soon.
Well, hopefully that's not our fault. We would feel really terrible if that happened.
If not, I might be moving to Austin and we'll be an ambient quartet. I don't know what I'll do, but okay. So that makes me, that jogged my memory a little bit. Linda, she does the vocals. Now, the vocals in the music are low, and it's not. I can't really, in what I've been listening to, I can't make out the vocals. Is that using them more as part of the music, and instead of like in punk music to make a statement, or
right,
heavy metal to just scream at people?
Yeah, it's different for different songs, and the last record that we did with Laraji, I don't think has any vocals, or if it does, it's very, very subtle background, just kind of using the voice as a backing instrument to everything else that's going on. But, the record that we've been working on that should be out in, probably March, I'm hoping, it features a lot more sort of traditional vocal, I guess, style.
Okay.
It's very much more present in the mix.
Oh, okay. So, and that's one thing that I've noticed in the genre is that, from what my limited experience and exposure to it, is that there aren't a whole lot of vocals. So
yeah, we kind of slowly worked the vocals in. We were just strictly an instrumental band for the first several years, and then Linda has an incredible voice, so we just started encouraging her to sing more. And and now I think she sings on almost every song on the forthcoming record anyway. But
and the new album is Arrive Without Leaving. Is there any significance to the title, or is it just something that sounded really good?
At the end of
and what are you drinking? Because I'm out of liquor at my house, and I have to drink vicariously through everybody right now.
Oh, yeah. Right on. I'm drinking a Dale's Pale Ale right now.
This is,
oh no!
I was down to a plastic bottle of Jim Beam, and I finished it last week with our sports show, and I just ended up tossing it. I'm done. I got to go get some more.
Yeah.
So, all right. So, are you guys more beer guys or whiskey guys?
Beer, wine, whiskey sometimes. Linda doesn't really drink, but Michael.
Tequila.
Michael's a big tequila and South
and wine.
Yeah, like the mezcal.
There you go.
Yeah, I don't really say no to many of the alcohols.
They're all welcome.
Yes.
just like ambient music, everybody's welcome.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Well, I'm right there with. I'm a recent convert to good tequila, so you guys got me with that one.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Yeah,
I love good tequila. And if you ever get out to LA, you got to check out my the other podcast, the Eric, the co-host. He just opened up a whiskey bar out there. So.
Oh, right on.
So if you ever go out to Hollywood, to LA, go to the Rye Fox.
All right, the Rye Fox.
Well, then.
Yeah. Right. Wait, no, I'm going to get yelled at. It's just Rye Fox. Sorry.
Oh, Rye Fox.
I got chastised last week for saying the Rye Fox. So anyway, okay. So I was asking you about significance of the title "Arrive Without Leaving."
Okay, so yeah, "Arrive Without Leaving" at the very end of the session. We had been going for all day. 7 hours or something at that point.
Oh yeah.
And, for the most part, we had stopped playing, but the tape was still going, and it was basically something that Laraji just started singing freestyle at the end.
Oh wow!
I think it was "There's no way to arrive without leaving." While we were packing up all of our gear, so it was kind of a funny thing, and we'd get to the end of the tape, and we had been listening back to everything, and it just kind of stuck out as a really good title for the session.
So that got recorded. Him singing that a little bit.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Okay, good.
It's like the very last thing on the tape. It's
of course. You guys are playing for 8 hours. Finally, you're packing up the last thing. It took us 8 hours to get to this point, but
yeah.
So now you guys are being synths and percussion. You guys don't get to move around on stage a whole hell of a lot. So
not really. Every once in a while, Michael and I might switch keyboards or something, but that's about as exciting as it gets. We pretty much don't move at all.
Well, that's good, because I've had guests on before who I've asked them what's the worst thing that's happened to them on stage, and I've had guys break their feet. I had somebody trip over some instruments. That broke his bass. During a show,
fall off stage more than one time. Somehow, just sitting there. I don't know, but it's happened. I'm just going to admit it. People have caught it on video. It's embarrassing, but even ambient bands can fall off stage if things get too exciting.
Oh, all right. So now I've got I've got a YouTube hole to go down.
Yeah.
I find Christian falling off stage. Let's see. Now, you mentioned that when you guys were first starting out, a lot of your stuff was improvised and all. Do you still find yourselves improvising on stage, or is most of your show now planned out and ready to go before you hit the stage?
It's mostly planned out. We do have, certain songs and certain sections of songs which we do, have completely sort of like live interpretations. But it also depends on the show. This Sunday, we're going to be playing like a yoga meditation tea room that's going to be 100% improv. We've actually been practicing on that all day, just kind of getting some ideas of what kind of sounds to use and that kind of thing. So you still do a lot of improv, but yeah, it's kind of a structured chaos kind of thing. We generally have some ideas and some riffs, and then kind of know when to bring it, to take it out there, and then when to kind of rein it back in, I guess.
So do you guys ever get lost while you're jamming on stage and have the other two kind of stare at you like, where are you going?
It's happened. It happens less and less, but we've played some fairly big festivals where there's there's been a few moments where you can't. Everything's so loud you can't always hear yourself. You don't know what's going on, and luckily at that point in our songwriting or whatever, you could cover up those kinds of mistakes pretty easily. It wasn't as obvious that you weren't playing the right song anymore, whatever.
Well, that's good. I guess maybe it's never mind. I have no idea where I was going with that one. All right. Tell me a little bit about the experience of doing the South by Southwest Westworld experience. How did you get involved in that? And did you get to shoot people? I mean, the show was really cool. So
yeah, I got a lot of guns pulled on me at Westworld. I probably deserved it. They had an open bar with like practically unlimited whiskey sours. So that was a lot of fun. But yeah, basically we kind of just got a mysterious email from HBO one day asking, "Hey, keep this under your hat, but like we're going to be doing this thing. We can't tell you much about it, but would you like to be a part of it?" And we said, absolutely. They didn't even say it was for Westworld. They just said it was for a major show on HBO. And so I was like, well, what would they be doing like out in this small town, outside of Austin? Yeah. And so we kind of guessed and immediately just got really excited about that and started writing some material. And so, yeah, for I guess it was 3 or 4 days, we were in this old ghost town that they had completely, sort of renovated and turned into the city of Stillwater, or the town of Stillwater, I should say, in the show. And they had a full cast of something like 150 actors or something, basically putting on a live play that you could interact with all around the town, and we were the band at the bar, and we got to get decked out in full costume and everything.
Oh, sweet.
And look really the part and everything. And once we got a kind of a feel for the the plot line that was developing, because we'd basically do it 2 or 3 times a night, as they'd have shifts of people coming in so that it was never too crowded, and everybody got to see the whole thing. Oh, cool. But yeah, so we started kind of catering our set list to kind of match the action of the play, and it was a great experience. And then basically it all kind of comes to a head with this big shootout at the end, and basically the guys in the suits come out and pick up all of the the androids that didn't make it. And we would play a really kind of funeral march song as everybody was sort of leaving, and then started over. That's awesome. One really cool thing that we got to do out there was actually perform a live wedding. There was a couple that got married out there, and so we quickly looked up how to play the wedding song, the Here Comes the Bride, like Moog and Mellotron, and just basically threw something together in 15 minutes, and it actually turned out pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was really awesome. They were in full character and full dress, and it was a spectacular experience, just unforgettable. Something that we were just so happy and proud to be a part of, really.
The thing that I've discovered about this genre of music is that it's really interesting that you guys are using synthesizers, but the music sounds really organic. It doesn't sound like Kraftwerk or anything like that. It's not angular at all. Do you guys do a lot of research into effects and the processors and stuff that you have to use? And what's your favorite piece of equipment, I guess, that you guys own?
Yeah. So I guess early on we kind of figured out some tricks, and I don't want to reveal too much. I mean, it's pretty easy to figure out, but we figured out some ways to kind of take the harsh edge off of the synthesizers and kind of give them a more warm, organic feeling. And basically, we just started, using that as a base, started building, more and more pieces to, I guess, the whole spaceship, and the biggest thing, the engine that drives the whole thing, is this giant modular that Michael has built that takes up an entire wall of our studio, and we call it the brain. And basically, I don't know, but 5, 6, maybe 7 years ago, maybe even longer than that. It might have been 10 years ago. You started building this thing with just a handful of components, and now it's this.
Yeah, it's taking a while to get it to the point where it's at now.
Okay.
I probably started it up in 2005, 2006. We were in LA.
Yeah, that was
the time.
Oh wow.
Yeah, that was 2006, right?
Yeah.
Oh man.
And just gradually been building it up. It takes quite a bit of financing to get to this level, so it's taken this long to get there. But now it's actually doing everything that I could imagine I would want it to do, plus more.
So when you guys play live shows, I mean, I'm imagining you can't take this thing with you. So
we've taken it twice with us, and after the first time we took it, it was a South by Southwest show.
Okay.
We thought it was going to be a great idea, but it was misting and the humidity just kind of shut everything down. And it was kind of one of those really nerve-wracking moments where you're like, oh, well, that was a really terrible idea. And then we brought it out when we played the planetarium in San Antonio, the Scobie Planetarium.
Okay.
It was just us performing, and we had 4 hours to set up, and it was temperature controlled.
Oh.
So in that kind of situation, we were like, let's definitely bring it. But for touring, you just don't have enough time to really set it up. It takes a couple hours to tune all the knobs, hook it all up, and still, like a hair off, it's going to be considerably different. So you kind of have to really fine tune it. That's what's really beautiful about the Moogs that we have. Okay. And we're really excited to hopefully get the new Moog 1, because it's three synthesizers in one. Oh, so theoretically, we could do what the brain is doing live while performing the songs as well. Okay. So everything would be completely live.
Yeah. Right now, we pretty much just rely on loops and samples of the brain live, and play it from a sampler.
I'll wind this up. I've been keeping you guys quite a while here, but
no worries.
Now I know you mentioned an album that you're working on that you're not going to talk too much about, but is there anyone that you've wanted to collaborate with that you haven't had a chance to yet? Maybe somebody that fans of Dallas Acid might not expect?
Oh, definitely. I mean, so many people.
I would love to. I don't know how unexpected this would be, but I would love to collaborate with Klaus Schultz.
Oh, yeah.
This really shaped us musically.
Mm-hmm.
I actually have one of his albums.
Oh, yeah. Which one?
I think it's called Moonlight.
Moondawn. Yeah. Brown cover with like a circle on the front, I think.
I don't know. I've got this is going to sound weird. I actually have a promo copy of it.
Okay.
A friend's aunt worked, my friend's dad was vice president of Ryko Disc or something, and like once every few months I'd get me and his son and my buddies we would get a big box of promo discs and stuff that just it was it was a few months old and it had been released at this point, or just stuff that I guess went south. I don't know, but we would get tons of this stuff, and we'd sit there and go through it, and it's just one that I kept, and it's like the one ambient album that I have, and it's fantastic.
Yeah,
he's such an influence on us. I just the way that he uses his sequencer and well, just everything else. But it seems like he's using the sequencer to sort of drive the music. It kind of changed the way that we, went about like songwriting and stuff. So, being able to collaborate with him would be definitely a dream come true. And, and then there's of course, all the others, Brian Eno, Daniel Lanois.
Is there anybody that may be out of the genre, maybe something somebody wouldn't expect? Like, I almost said Robert Fripp, but I guess that would make too much sense.
Jason Pierce from, Spiritualized and Spaceman 3.
Yeah.
Also just a big influence on us, especially when, we were younger. We were really, or I was really into Spaceman 3. I don't want to talk for Michael, but I know he was, at one point. But yeah, they were huge influences on us, as well, but especially, the Spiritualized stuff after Spaceman 3 that, Jason Pierce did.
Oh, I love their first two albums, Ladies and Gentlemen, We Were Floating in Space, and what was it, Let It Come Down? Those are fantastic.
Yeah, they're so good. I was lucky enough to see them. I don't know if it was their first American tour, but back in, I think it was 92 or something. I was in LA and they were basically opening for the Jesus and Mary chain. And it was just, it was so fantastic. I was already a big fan, but being able to see them do it live and pull it off so fantastically, it was just beautiful, altering experience for me for sure.
Oh, that's fantastic. Let me just ask you guys, where can people find the new album that you've done with Laraji, and how can they buy it, download it?
So you can get everything that we've done to this date, I believe, or most everything that's been released, at least in the last few years, at flyingmoonlight.com. And that's the name of our record label is Flying Moonlight Records.
And do you have any social media accounts where people can follow what you're doing?
Oh, yeah. You can always go to dallasacid.com, and that's got links to everything. We do a pretty much a daily post to Instagram is probably the best way to follow us. And then, you can find us on Spotify, Bandcamp, Apple Music, all the major streaming, I think most of them anyway, if you want to hear it.
Thank you so much for coming on with me tonight. I really do appreciate it.
Absolutely. Our pleasure. Thank you.
I can let you guys have the rest of your night, rehearse, drink some tequila, whatever you guys want to do.
Yeah. Awesome. Yeah.
You guys are always more than welcome to come back on.
Thank you, man. Yeah, our pleasure.
When you get that, I'm dying to hear some of these metal ambient covers of some metal tracks. So when you guys get that done, I've got to get that.
I'm going to send you a sample as soon as we get something. I'll send you a few tracks. So,
please do. I'm real good at secrets.